Let me tell you something. I was just laid off today by the Big Daddy G, that engineering software tool that everybody uses with two zeros in the middle of those G's.
Just imagine. I'm laughing because he's so, dramatic. So like flamboyant. Just imagine working with this guy every day. And he seemed like he's a smart guy. He seemed like he's almost too smart for his own good. And then again, he seemed like he's like, I don't know. I hate to pick somebody like a flamboyant, like a flamer or whatever. But then you don't have a shirt on. so I mean, just imagine, working with this guy every day. But
these Google layoffs were quite
now, so I found this on TikTok, and he's going to explain how the culture was at Google. How Google really kept their employees. They have low retention. So, and this is literally how they did it.
To set the table for this was Google's strategy, is to make it so good to work there that you would never think of leaving, or it'd be very difficult to leave.
Yeah.
Google created the culture of entitlement in Silicon Valley. They said, let's make a campus. Let's provide Neiman Ranch steaks. Let's put an infinite swimming pool in and volleyball. You don't even have to grow up. You can be Peter Pan here, give you dinner, go all in, and don't worry about doing any other work. It was cynical, right, to get you to work more. And it was also a result of them having a money printing machine. They never had to think about costs because, my Lord, so many people were using Google and so many people were clicking on ads that the spend for that business was largely irrelevant. For them to then cut people off was shocking to those people. But for the rest of the world, or even the rest of tech, a lot of people are watching this and going like, are these people for real?
I was working there for over 9 years. I'm also 6.
So you could just imagine how, you got your dream job. Hey, Coco. You got your dream job and you've been there for years. You never want to leave. And all of a sudden they come in and you get fired. So I could see how that will hurt you to your soul because this is your dream job, right? And how dare you fire me without any warning? But that's just a note to self or note to other people that even though it's your dream job, but a company only exists, hey Barb, a company only exists and stay in existence if they really look at their bottom line. Of course, you want to care about your employees, but for a company to survive, it has to really look at their bottom line of what they're doing. Okay. Now this lady, you could tell she's, she got, I think that's a little bit of gray in her hair. So she's been at Google for a while.
Pregnant. This is decaf.
And she's pregnant. No.
This is not how I thought my career at Google would come to an end. But here we are. Part of me is resentful. I'm frustrated.
I said play quiet.
It's time to move on. And I know that in this time when backed up against a corner, this is when amazing things get built. I have a 2-year-old son and I have a little girl that I'm going to meet soon. And this is the time to really show and demonstrate what it means like to flourish during uncertainty. I know that really good things are going to come. I live in the Hudson Valley, just north of New York City. I love to cook and I love being a mom. I hope you follow for more and maybe be part of this journey too. And I hope I get to know more about you.
Years of working at Google, I was laid off on Friday. I was a software engineer on Google Docs. I worked on a lot of user-facing features, including bringing emoji reactions to Google Docs. I found out while I was on vacation with my family. I didn't know until around noon that day when I checked my personal email and saw that my manager had sent me a message on LinkedIn. And when I saw that it started with, "I'm so sorry that this happened," I knew exactly what that meant. Nothing could have prepared me for how hard it was to have such a big and important chapter of my life come to an end that abruptly. That said, I've known for a while I didn't want to be a software engineer.
Now, so she's you know, probably became a software engineer because she probably looked at the I like it, you know, or I looked at the salary. Okay, I'll become a software engineer just to major in something. And so she's younger, and now she's, you know, without going through the video, she's gonna start doing stuff on her own. She's basically saying she has this creative side of her and she's gonna do stuff on her own. But like I said, this is maybe an age difference, because if you got fired in the past, you won't make a long vlog about it. It's like, if you got fired in the past, you know, you'll talk about it with your family and friends, but it won't be on TikTok, right? so everybody has this coming to Jesus moment on TikTok. So, you know, and all this other stuff, you know. So yeah, I'm not gonna talk about that, but this next one
And healthy recipes
is
Laid off from
telling
money.
us. Now, this guy is Indian. He said, I was laid off and he's studying for the interview, and then his dad is applying for jobs. It's like, oh no, you still got to work. I don't care if you got laid off. You gonna get a job the next day. So I mean, like I said, it might be a culture difference versus Americans versus like Indians, and then I think it's an age difference. So I think some of the younger generation, or we've become a culture that we're so entitled, okay? And not to say like, okay, you've been at Google for so long, how dare you fire me? You know, of course, because this is you probably thought you was going to retire from Google, and now that dream is no longer a reality. So now it's like, oh, I have to find me another job. And if you're up in the age, it's probably you feel like some type of way, you know. Now, this lady, I don't know if she's a lawyer or whatever, but she's like so serious.
And for the privacy, and to be mindful of the So as many of you might already know, Google did announce layoffs this morning, and out of respect and for the privacy and to be mindful of the people that were affected, I will not be adding any additional context to this conversation. So if you want more information, please do your own research, and please make sure you're getting your information from credible and reliable sources and not adding any additional speculation from what's being shared on TikTok without doing your own research. With that being said, I'm very grateful that I was not affected by the layoffs at Google, but I'm feeling sad for the people that were.
And you know, like, she's like, do your own research, don't make any speculations. We're not the news. Like, who cares? Like, do your own research, don't make any speculations about the people that got fired. It's like, who cares? I mean, okay, yeah, we know you got fired. People do gossip. If you're an employee or a former employee of Google, and you made a TikTok, of course somebody might comment about it. But I don't know. I don't know what the whole purpose of her saying this. Like I said, she sounds like a lawyer. I'm not for sure. Or maybe she just wanted to get some views. Who cares, you know? This next one is now, like I said, it's a culture difference, because now this guy or whoever's filming this, Come and see if I got laid off. Why would you, make a video about that? Okay, I wanted to go back. Now this lady right here, she's a really.
I've heard some really awful stories about the Google layoffs. Like one of my friends who works there told me that people were in their office onboarding new hires when they were informed that they were laid off. So imagine that you're a new hire. This is your first week at Google, and the person who is onboarding you and welcoming you to Google gets laid off in the middle of your welcome to Google session. Can you imagine? I don't know. These just feel super heartless. They've also laid off so many of their really senior people. And I mean, I think it's a good thing that they're not just laying off entry-level employees, of course, but also can you imagine giving 15 or 18 or 23 years of your life to a company and then just having your email access laid off one day and not being able to say goodbye to anyone? It's just really heartless. And I don't know, it shows you a lot about the character of this company and of what their values really are. And it's something I hope people will keep in mind because hiring is going to pick up again. And personally, I wouldn't want to go and work at any of these companies.
Yesterday,
The last statement, I don't think it's true. I don't think it's true because she said, personally, I don't think I would want to work for any of these companies. You will only say that if you're a business owner. And I say that all the time, I will never work for another company. I don't care how much they're paying me because I taste the freedom of being a business owner. Now, but if you are an employee and that's all you know and you don't want to start a business, if Google called you back, I'm pretty sure you'll go back. I think that's just an untrue statement. And most companies do not treat you as well as Google. Now, before I get to this lady, I did go on the internet to see what the average salary was. And the average salary for Google employees, you guys, are you prepared for this? Let me see if I can find average salary for a Google employee. Now, this is not if you're can you guys see that? Average salary, $123,000 a year. Now, if you're in California, maybe that's really not enough, but because California is high and even in New York, but Google has a location in Michigan. $123,000, that's way more. You're in the top 10 percentile of income. So like I said, that last statement that lady made, come on now. If Google call you tomorrow and say, "Oh, we made a mistake," you're actually not fired. You can come back in your ass will be back in that office. I'm sorry. So don't lie about it. These are horrible companies. All companies work in this manner. Now, at the beginning, we saw how they said, they got steak and we're going to see some of these employees, they got massage chairs and all kinds of stuff. The lunches is really, cuisines and stuff that you eat. Most companies don't treat you that way. Most companies don't treat you that well. They don't allow you to take naps. They don't allow you to be Peter Pan. The guy used the word Peter Pan when he described you could be whoever you want to be at Google as long as you get your work done. They don't do that. You can't be Peter Pan at most of these other companies. So like I said, this is, that one individual saying, oh, these are horrible companies. Maybe she hasn't worked for different companies. I have, and most of them are like just average, but the other ones are like really pain in the butt, you know? So let's go back to, so I want to share this with you guys. If I could, okay, there you go. Now, this young lady, this is what I'm saying about entitlement. This is exactly what I'm saying when I say entitlement to the fifth power. This is like entitlement to the fifth power.
1,000 of my colleagues at Google were laid off. Today, this activist investor who's been really involving himself in the situation, his name is Christopher Hone, wrote a letter to our CEO, and he said he was disappointed in the layoffs because people lost their job. No. He was disappointed because the layoffs didn't go far enough. In his letter, Christopher says not only should Google do more and bigger layoffs, but that remaining employees should be paid less. This is all, of course, so that the stock price will go up and investors like Christopher will make more money. And he really needs it. Last year, he only made $690 million.
Why are you mad that he made good investments? That's my only thing. Like, why are you mad that he made good investments? Now, he probably is on a stretch of things of they should get paid less, because usually in tech jobs and software, if you want to retain good quality employees, of course you're going to pay them really well. And tech industry is a very lucrative industry. That's why they paid them so well, and that's why they had a low retention rate at Google. But for her to say, oh, he made so much money, why are you worried about firing people? He's worried about, he wants his money, that's why he invested in the company, because he wants a return on his investment. So I just don't understand how you correlate the two with I'm very wealthy and you need to keep me as an employee even though I'm not doing nothing. I just don't understand that. I just don't see the two. It doesn't mesh with me. Anyway. So this young lady, she moved to New York City and she got canned.
On a scale from 1 to, my friend, you're fucked.
Great. Another day in my life working from the Google.
So we'll see her again because she does vlogs because she works at Google. But now it seems to that, she got canned. So we'll see her.
Layoffs. I wait a day in my life getting laid off at Google.
So I wonder, and I don't mean to be insensitive, my heart goes out to everybody who has been laid off recently with all these big tech layoffs that have been happening since last year. But a part of me wonders if this is somehow a way for employers to start to take their power back. Now, obviously, there's probably a myriad of reasons why these layoffs are happening the way that they're happening and in such large numbers. However, literally a year ago, we had a shortage of workers. We had kind of like an anti-corporate movement where people didn't want to go back to the office. People were starting to stand up for themselves and set boundaries of how long they were going to work, the hours, etc. And people were starting to demand more pay and pay transparency. And I saw a lot of people on here saying that they deserved 6 figures. Even some people, like regardless of how much work experience they had, which is a whole other conversation. And so, given we live in a capitalist society and this is the United States of America, I personally always thought something was going to come that was going to put us in our place. And I wonder if this is it.
My corporate besties, this is for you. Google used to be my...
I kind of agree with her, but I don't. I think it's just, like I said in the beginning, it's just a revolving thing that we see. Is the cycle of the economy, you guys. That's what we're seeing. It's the cycle of the economy. You have some larger corporations, and most larger corporations, the tech bubble. Y'all don't remember the tech bubble. If you're in your 40s, you do remember it. The tech bubble back in the 90s. It's the same thing. Yahoo used to be did Yahoo own AOL? I don't know if they was different, or I don't know if that was owned through Google. But anyway, Yahoo was the leading company for like social media and all that stuff, and MySpace. But now it's not even Yahoo's not, it's Google now. So we're talking about, oh, it's a conspiracy theory. I don't think so. I think people are already divested in the workplace. I doubt if they come back. We know people are not looking for jobs. They're lying about the numbers. Look, the jobless claim numbers, they're lying about it. It's the jobless claim numbers. It came out back in January that is decreased, but we know that most ages from 22 to 29 men, they're not even looking for jobs. They're not looking for jobs. And then we got a lot of gig work. Is the gig working economy, because they don't want to clock in a 9 to 5, or they lack the skills to fill these other jobs. So jobless claims, and what she's saying is the employers are taking back the reign of, hey, we got you by the grips. I don't think that's good. I don't think that's happening. I think employers, if you're a 9 to 5er, they have you by the grip. But if you're not a regular 9 to 5er, you don't give a crap. You don't care about that stuff. And then I believe, we are sticking up for us. Well, employees are sticking up for themselves, but it's so much that you could stick up for. I mean, I think it's wokeism is kind of taken over, but I don't think that negates the fact that you could get fired from your job. I mean, we see it on the internet that, like, if you're in social media, oh, somebody's making an announcement that they're quitting a job and they cussing everybody out. But that doesn't go, that's just one out of millions of people that are employed. So I wouldn't think too much of what she said as a true statement. Anyway, so this young lady, she's young, but I kind of agree with her sentiment on this.
Dream company for the longest time. And while I understand the business rationale behind layoffs and headcount reduction and restructuring, these layoffs are a stark reminder that an employer looks at you as a disposable number. You are just a headcount. For that reason, I feel like a lot of people are having a wake-up call, because for the longest time, especially across TikTok, we saw this huge outburst of like, get into tech, everybody needs to get into tech this, tech that, corporate America this, corporate America that, and I feel like finally this is our wake-up call. If you can, today's the time to up-level your skills. Look into ways to monetizing your talent, your brains, and your services, because no one can take that away from you. And lastly, at your current job, make sure you set boundaries and prioritize yourself, because my corporate.
I think, yeah, monetize up here. You still need to get in tech. I don't, you still need to get in tech. Tech is probably one of the growing field in the world. If you're in some type of technology, you have job security. If you are an entrepreneur and you think of some type of product or something that could help a product that's already in existence to make it better, you have job security. I just posted a short is 25 industries that have a 10-year growth expectancy. And they were all tech industries. Even if it was like a subcategory, well, it's a health industry, but the subcategory was technology. So get into tech still. But if you want to have job security, or if you want to go in business for yourself, you have that entrepreneur mind, I think you should, monetize. No one could take away what's up in here. Invest in yourself, invest in your education. My kids, they take a coding class once a week, and in the coding class, they already said they have contacts with Elon Musk and some larger corporations. And because they're not thinking about hiring kids out of college, they're thinking about hiring kids straight out of high school. So this program will follow them through high school. And when they get out of the program, they'll be making, 6-figure jobs. So tech is where it's at, coding, tech, whatever, that space. But yeah, if you want to control your destiny and control your wealth, I think you should monetize or create some type of product or become an entrepreneur.
12,000 employees were laid off today at Google. I was lucky enough to not be one of those 12,000.
This is a brilliant point, and you are so completely correct. But I just did a ton of digging, and I think it goes so much deeper than that. This is Chris Hahn, and he is a hedge fund billionaire. A letter to Google, to their parent company Alphabet, telling them to.
This is another entitled guy. I mean, I don't know what goes on in someone's head. Look, how much money can you make? How much money can I make? It's like, is there a limit? No, it's not a limit, because we're living in a capitalist society. But it kind of irks me when I hear people like this, like, why are they getting mad because someone is super, super rich or wealthy? I just don't understand. I think because half of the time people think they have to have equity or sweat equity in the company that they work for, but they get paid, but they need some type of equity in their company. Spread the wealth, almost like a communist society, like China does it. We work, but 50% is owned by the government. And so they spread the wealth throughout. But it was my idea. This is my company. So, and I think this is when I hear about socialism, I guess, because I think that's where they're trying to get some of the people. They're trying to get like a socialist, almost like a communist society. They get mad at the super wealthy people.
Reduce their headcount and to start categorizing people as low performers. That's what the name of his hedge fund is. It's called the Children's Investment Fund, and it feels like it should be illegal for this guy to have an investment fund, a hedge fund, named this. It's currently worth.
And hey, why would you criticize somebody named Children Investment Fund? And if you read on here, he's a fund manager and a philanthropist. Do we know what philanthropy means? That means you give most of your money away. He invests or gives his money away. So, and why are you mad? Because he called it his investment fund Children Investment Fund. You don't know what's behind the name. So why would you say that? I mean, this thing where super rich people are evil, I mean, some of them are, but you can't pin that on everybody.
$7.9 billion.
I want to go back a little bit because I was talking.
It's currently worth $7.9 billion. Years ago, he was worth $5 billion. And 3 years ago, he was worth 3.9. So in 3 years, he has gone from $3.9 billion to 7.8. He has doubled his money in 3 years during the pandemic. You know what makes my blood boil about it? Google still made $14 billion in profit last quarter. It down from where it was a year ago. Yes. Is that still a ridiculous amount of profit? Yes. 10,000 people who live in the Bay Area, who probably live in the most expensive place in America with mortgages, families, whatever, are going to lose their jobs because a hedge fund billionaire worth $8 billion, who's doubled his money in the last 3 years, thinks he's just not going to make as much money as fast. And so he bullied a company making a shit ton of profit already into firing 10,000 people. That's insane.
A day in my
Another thing I have to say, okay, so Google has 120,000 employees. They fired 12,000 employees. Yeah, it's a lot of employees when we say, yeah, but it's nothing in them, you know. They didn't fire half of the United States. They fired 10,000 people, you know. So, and you know, and back to, hey, the average salary of Google employees is $127,000. And they gave them a 6-month severance package, you guys. Hey, Mom. They gave them a 6-month severance package. That's so they will be able to live and find a job. So in case if they were spending all their money, they wouldn't be struggling to make ends meet. You got a severance package, and I think they got 6 months of pay, their PTO time, their sick pay, and something else they gave them. So it's not like they said, oh, fire you out the door. No, they gave them some money. Of course, how does this company stay in the black every quarter? They got to be smart about it. You know, they can't just spend money frivolously. And when you spend money frivolously, you don't survive. I bet you if they said, okay, employees, we're going to have to not give you a pay raise, and we got to get rid of some of these amenities that we have because it's costing a lot of money. I bet you anything that someone will be online talking about how bad Google treats their employees. They were like, they treat us the same as Walmart people. I bet you anything. Even though we would never know because that didn't happen. But like I said, you know, so we're like in this entitlement society. I don't understand.
Working from the Google LA office. I'm gonna
This is the girl I was telling you
grab
about.
some coffee and then I'm heading over to this butterfly themed room to take my first meeting. Then I'm gonna head over to the confetti room to take my next meeting. It's so sparkly and beautiful in here. Then I got more work done and headed over to the massage chairs to wrap up my day. A day in my life getting laid off at these insane.
So yeah, you see how wonderful Google is. Now they didn't get rid of none of that stuff. But it's like she's making a vlog of, hey, I'm getting a massage. I'm gonna do work in this movie room and get my work done. Yeah, and she got laid off. The other guy said, oh, make it about poor performance. Maybe it was poor performance. Maybe they wouldn't get enough productivity out of their people. So maybe they wanted to start over for those employees.
Layoffs aren't enough to make you realize why you need a second stream of income.
Let me tell you something.
This is the guy.
I was just laid off today by the Big Daddy G, that engineering software tool that everybody uses with 2 zeros in the middle of those G's, L-E, you know? And the crazy thing is I feel so fucking grateful that it happened. And let me tell you why. hear me out. I know this sounds crazy if you're not used to it, but this is something in the journey I've been on for the past couple of months leading up to this. Like I started last year and it's just been building, which is like manifesting. And everybody on this fucking app, all I see is manifestation, blah, 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 blah. So I had already had plans to save up and quit by my 31st birthday, which is June 20th. And after that, I was just going to move somewhere else, lower my expenses, and do what I wanted to do in terms of entrepreneurship, things of that nature, whatever. In the last 24 hours, there have been so many signs from like me FaceTiming with my best friend and him posting something that just kind of connected with me and where I am, that when I woke up this morning and this happened, and I couldn't log into my computer and check the internet and it said Google laid off 10,000 people, I was like excited. I was fucking excited because, you know, I was holding myself back. We have this inner fear of wanting to have stability and not quitting a job until we have something else in line. But this...
Let me go back to him. I cut him off because it was a long statement. He said he was holding himself back working at the job and he's going to do what he really truly loves. Does he look like Little Bow Wow to you guys? Let me know. Put it in the chat. Little Bow Wow's little brother or son. Well, he'll be 31, so it can't be his son. I think Little Bow Wow is like 39. But he looks like he's akin to Little Bow Wow. I don't know. That's just me. Now, this last story, this is our last one. Oh, you know what? Let me just show you guys. Oh, you know what? I'll wait till the last one comes up. But this is our last TikTok video, and it's kind of funny.
This
lady here worked for Google, was on a company trip for Google, and while she was there, they let her go. And she had to contact another Google employee just to be able to get home because they cut her off of everything. If you are still being loyal to these jobs, you're out of your mind. You better do the right thing. You better do whatever is best for you. And whatever situation, 2-week notice, any of that stuff is out the window. Whenever these companies feel you're disposable,
So basically he's saying don't be loyal to any company. I question that because when you go out of town for a business, usually you have, unless you're in sales or something. But why would you have to call somebody to book you a flight or whatever? You're not poor. Even if they cancel the company credit card, why wouldn't you have some money on you? I mean, you didn't have none of your stuff on you. You couldn't buy your own flight home. I question that. Oh, they left me stranded. I'm out here and they left me stranded. I flew for companies before, and even if I didn't have my company credit card, I could still put it on my charge card and build a company. That's normally, it will be an expense, and you put your expense report in and you provide receipts. I mean, I just don't understand a person that's and you're probably an engineer if you're traveling, or a sales engineer. You're probably making in the 6 figures. Don't tell me that you were stranded and you couldn't get home because they didn't have your ID. Come on now. So, people are so dramatic. Like, oh, they stranded me and I couldn't get home. Like, you didn't have no credit cards? As much as Google pays you, you didn't have any personal credit cards? So I just really, really, I think people are like really being dramatic right now. So this other one I wanted to show you guys, this is from Twitter. I wanted to go on Twitter because I wanted to see what they were talking about. And I found the letter that guy was talking about from that hedge fund manager, and someone put it on their Twitter account. So let's see if we could look at it. Let me enlarge it. Oh, maybe I can't. Okay. Can you guys see it? Oh, there we go. It says, I have appreciated our recent dialogue concerning Alphabet cost base. I am encouraged. Now, you guys, if you are part of, if you invest in a stock, you know, and you have some type of voting, of course, you have some type of voting rights. And if you're like a large percentage, they usually take into account their or shareholders. They usually take into account, oh, this person has a large percentage of the stock. But they typically have a shareholders meeting. You could invest, or you could write to the manager or the company and express your concerns to that company. And typically you want, if you have a company and you do have shareholders, typically you want to appease your shareholders because they're like investing in your company, right? So this is not abnormal for someone to write the company. So for the young man to say, hey, you made so many, he pulled up his personal information. Who cares? Who cares what he made? He put X amount of dollars in Google and bought some stock. So, and now he's probably a major shareholder. So he's going to write the company because he wants to see some profit. That's how he got to where he got. But anyway, this, he was saying, I'm encouraged to see now Sandar Pache. I don't know. I just probably butchered the guy's name. But anyway, I have appreciated our recent dialogue concerning Alphabet's cost base. I am encouraged to see you are now taking some action to right size Alphabet's cost base and understand it is never an easy decision to let people go. I argue in my previous letter that the Alphabet headcount has grown beyond what is required operationally. Over the last 5 years, Alphabet more than doubled its headcount, adding 200,000 employees, of which over 30,000 were added in the first 9 months of 2022 alone. We talked about that when we talked about people were doing this fake hire. And during the pandemic, they did this fake hire stuff. Fake hiring means, hey, we're growing, or we're seeing a large, we need the help, we need the bodies. They wasn't expecting the amount of work or the amount of revenue increase, so they hired a lot of people. And we call that fake hiring. And a lot of companies did that. So in the 9 months of 2020 alone, the decision to cut 12,000 jobs is a step in the right direction, but it does not even reverse the very strong headcount growth of 2022. Ultimately, management will need to go further. I believe that management should aim to reduce the headcount to around 150,000, which is in line with Alphabet's headcount at the end of 2021. This would require to total headcount reduction in order of 2016, I think that says, or 20%. So this guy is saying they need to cut more. If they're in 200, they have 200,000 employees. That's crazy. I thought it was like 127. That's what I read in Wall Street Journal. Importantly, management should also take the opportunity to address excessive employee compensation. He wants them to cut the median salary. The median salary at Alphabet is nearly 300,000. So it's wrong on what I found on Google. And the average salary is much higher. The median salary is 300,000. Can you imagine that? Making 300,000 a year at a job? Competition for talent in the technology industry has fallen significantly, allowing Alphabet to materially reduce compensation per employee. And particularly, Alphabet should limit stock-based compensation given the depressed shared price. Oh, so he's saying don't give stock options to some of the employees. Maybe that's probably why they make the 300,000, because they give them stock options. I don't know if that's the right thing to do, but anyway, so $300,000, that's a lot of money for the median salary. And then he said the average salary for Google is higher. I want to see if they wrote back to him to combat what he's talking about. But usually in their shareholder meeting, they probably give them that information. 200,000, so Google has 200,000 employees. This guy wants them to cut it by 20% because they did this hiring of 30,000 people in 9 months. That's just ridiculous. And so he wants them to cut 40,000 jobs. So they might do it. And the compensation, but he didn't say nothing about like the frivolous spending of like the meals that they provide and all that stuff. So do you cut the salary for some people? Is the competition stiff? If a lot of tech jobs are laying people off, then you have more competition. You have more talent pool that people are looking for the jobs. And do you say, hey, you could find another job? We got to cut your money, but you got to find another job. They might get lawsuits from that, though. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to cut your salary and not decrease or change my job position. So it's probably best for them to fire them and hire new people at a lower salary. What do you guys think? Put that in the chat. That's just my take on it. Okay, so this guy, this last article before we leave for today, he was a recruiter for Google, and he was a recruiter for years. And he was surprised that he got canned. He said, I thought I was safe. Lanang Ryan said that though he had noticed some cutbacks, including spending on social events, he hadn't expected layoffs. He said Google introduced a hiring pause in the summer, but it only lasted a couple of months. So he was contracted through Google, and his compensation ended in September of 2022. But Google extended his contract, so that's why he thought he was really safe, because they extended it through 2023. And he said he was blindsided by the termination, but despite of his employment ending on a bitter note, I really did enjoy my time there. I don't have any negative feelings towards Google, she said. This is a she. Though she added, it's things for sure. You see her sentiment? I don't have any ill feelings, negative feelings towards Google, because they were a good company. I mean, so why would you feel bad about it? And like I said, if Google would call her back, any of these people back, they probably be like, okay, we gonna go back. Because what company giving you like cuisine meals and you get to lounge out in the movie room to watch TV? You got massage chairs. What company does that? No company. No company in the world probably does this type of thing. I work for an oil company, and they were frivolous in their spending. And the oil company that I worked for was really modest compared to some of the largest ones. We were like, I worked for the only American oil company, only owned American oil company or American-based oil company. But these other ones like ExxonMobil and Shell, they said these guys were spending money out the wazoo, but never like Google. You know, they didn't come close to Google. So, like I said, Google, okay, your time, you should be grateful to have that type of job and to have the stories that you have and maybe the laid back experience. I know they were saying at one time they're able to take naps, you know, like power naps. What job allows you to do that? So that's all we have to say about that. I hope you guys enjoyed this evening on our business talks. I did. I had a lot of fun. We will be talking about some other stuff or some new stuff on Monday. We'll probably get into some more serious stuff on Monday. So I am sending all my good to you. I will talk to you soon.